N7MSB. My name is Marilyn. Please bring up the slides for tonight's presentation so you can follow along. This presentation is courtesy of our dear friend Bob Hogens, KB7WPS. Please enjoy his sense of humor as we go through the slides. I realized that while I knew about winterizing my car, I did not know much about winterizing my Radio Shack. And as a result, I would like to share with you the things that were on Bob's list. If there are things that, in your experience, you think that I should add to it, we will open the discussion at the end of the presentation to hear your ideas. From this point, understand that this is Bob's words with a few spots where I emphasized that because it was talking about his equipment and his experience. So, with that, slide 2. If you are having difficulty finding a source of good quality radio antifreeze, well, I'm happy to announce that here is the best on the market. Okay, I admit that such a product is absolutely not necessary, nor does it even exist. Our radios are not water-cooled and therefore do not use antifreeze. I hope no one is confused in this matter. Slide 3. I have no idea what motivates us to do so, but we have chosen to be emergency communicators in the American Rocky Mountains. In so doing, we have consigned ourselves to operate in weather extremes. Since I have absolutely no qualifications to evaluate the psychiatric implications of our choices, let's explore the physical consequences for our stations. Slide 4. There are 3 areas that I would like to discuss tonight. First, the fixed base station in our home, garage, attic, bunker, or wherever we have been relegated to. Second, our mobile station. And third, our antenna system. Remember that our stations are whatever we operate from. I have not chosen to address the issue of portable radios because there is not much that is winter specific that is involved in their maintenance. Just be sure that antennas are properly installed, batteries are charged. And remember, batteries do wear out and may need to be changed. If you use an exterior antenna on your HT, then follow along when we discuss antennas later in our discussion. Slide 5. Let's begin with our home or base stations. While I cannot envision a serious effort to winterize our station without giving parallel consideration for the safety and weatherization of our homes, fear not, that is not the focus of our discussion tonight. There may be some overlap, but that is to be expected. I don't know if power outages are any more frequent in winter than summer, but their impact is certainly intensified by climate extremes. Add to that the short days and heavily overcast skies, and you have the perfect recipe for a cold, dark, dead radio station. Now is the time to check the quality and condition of our battery backup systems. If we will be relying on a generator, can we safely and legally get power from the generator to our station? Is the generator winterized? And how about alternative lights and safe heat source? Routine maintenance of a station should be never ending. Nonetheless, the onset of winter is an excellent time to repent for summer neglect. Check the equipment mounts to ensure that they have not come loose. Check cable connections for possible corrosion and make sure they are tight. Check wires and cables for signs of abrasion or other damage. Check fuses and fuse housings and make sure you have extras. Check grounding and bonding wires. Make sure all connections are secure. Check those smoke detectors that should have been checked this fall. My fingers don't want to turn the pages. Okay, there is one other consideration that would not ordinarily be associated with station maintenance. We live in a dirty world, and even the most meticulous housekeeper in the world cannot prevent dust. Furnace filters should be changed at least twice per year. This will reduce the bacteria and mold spores in the air, and it will certainly significantly enhance the efficiency of our heating system. But it also has a very specific benefits for our station equipment as well. Let's look at what DX Engineering has to say about dust in the Radio Shack. Slide 6. Dust is made up of solid particles that are suspended in the air. Dust is always present. It is rarely a single substance, but consists of materials that include salts, minerals, inorganic and organic substances. Dust compromises the functioning of printed circuit board assemblies, PCBAs, and other electronic components like connectors and contacts. When dust gets inside electronic equipment, it can cause dielectric changes, electrical leakage, and short-circuiting. It will also raise the contact resistance of components. Dust that contains salts and ionic substances can combine with moisture to cause tarnishing and corrosion of metal components. Slide 7. Let's talk about mobile stations for a moment. Just like our home stations, the effectiveness of our mobile operations is generally dependent on routine maintenance of our vehicles. We all know the drill: winter tires properly inflated, the right antifreeze at the right level, wipers in excellent condition and fluids filled. There's another condition that can directly affect our ability to operate mobile: the condition of the battery. Batteries that worked fine all summer often fail when the temperature drops. Batteries don't like the cold. When the temperature drops below 32 degrees, they lose 35% of their power. When the temperature reaches 0 degrees, they lose 65% of their power. Oil thickens in the cold, making it harder to turn the engine over. Modern vehicles have more electrical and electronic toys than Santa Claus, and they also draw power from the battery. When we shut down the vehicle, we need to make sure everything is turned off and unplugged so we don't further drain the battery. The other items on the list are safety issues. We'll talk about battery terminal corrosion in a moment. This is N7MSB. Slide 8. Let's begin our discussion of antennas and feedline systems by talking about corrosion. Simply stated, corrosion is a natural process that converts a refined metal into a more chemically stable oxide. It is the gradual deterioration of materials, usually a metal, by chemical and electrochemical reaction with their environment. Rust is a classic example of corrosion, but it is not the only one. Let's talk about galvanic corrosion. When two different materials come together, a reaction may occur that could cause corrosion and could even cause them to fail. As you look at the chart on this slide, you will see a list of metals. The top of the list is said to be anodic, and the bottom of the chart is said to be cathodic. By coupling an anodic metal with a cathodic metal, it is likely that galvanic corrosion will occur. This could occur, for example, when we attach a copper wire to an aluminum antenna, or an aluminum lug, or an aluminum antenna to a copper pipe, or vice versa. The closer the metals are on the list, the less likely galvanic corrosion will occur. The catalyst for these reactions could be moisture, salt, or other chemicals that can be found in the atmosphere. Slide 9. Having said all that, winterizing our systems means checking for all categories of corrosion. Start with cable connectors. If your connectors look like the ones on the slide, it is time to sing a somber song, hold a brief memorial, and replace them. Failing to do so will seriously degrade your signal, if you have one, and increase your SWR potentially destroying your radio. Remember, this corrosion occurs because moisture was allowed to enter the connection. Always ensure that all connectors are properly sealed against moisture. Now armed with all this wisdom, it is time to examine your entire system for signs of corrosion. Check your ground connections, your antenna anchors, your guy wires, antenna masts and towers, and any other metal parts that are exposed to the elements. While we are checking connectors, we should periodically check our feed lines to ensure that they have not been cut, scraped, or otherwise experienced a loss of structural integrity. Before we move on, let's return to our discussion of batteries in mobile operation. Battery corrosion can have a debilitating effect on a vehicle and a destructive impact on the wires that power your radio equipment. Keep the terminals clean. Slide 10. If you remove the antenna from your vehicle periodically, whether to avoid drawing attention to your equipment or to wash your vehicle, cover the connector with a rain cap. There are a few pictured on the side. Again, moisture is a connection's worst enemy. Check your masts and towers for structural integrity. What you see in the slide is not pickup sticks. It is Bob's home-brewed copper J pole. It was sitting on top of two 4-foot fiberglass sections above 3 aluminum sections. When the wind reached 50 miles per hour, the resulting leverage split the lower fiberglass section almost in two. Apparently, cheap and good are not necessarily synonymous. Regardless of what they are made of, guy wires will stretch. Make sure they still have the appropriate tension on them. One of Bob's favorite tools in the toolbox is paracord. It is lightweight and incredibly strong. He uses it for guy wires, hoisting wires, and so many other things. It seems indestructible, but it turns out it has serious limitations. Paracord is rated to have a life expectancy of 7 to 8 years. Unfortunately, that is only true if you store it dry in a sealed plastic container. Since we use it so much in our operations, let's look at some of the things that harm it. Yes, it is nylon, but it deteriorates when it gets wet. It must be air dried. One of my sources stated that a hair blower should not be used to dry it. I suspect that the owner of the hair blower would kill you with it, but the heat will cause it to break down. A heat gun will destroy it. It will break down over time when exposed to the sun. Harsh chemicals, even those in the atmosphere, will damage it. Motor oil will destroy it, and perhaps most surprising of all, mold will ruin it. The outer cover becomes brittle, and if it rubs against anything hard, it will fail. If we use paracord, it needs to be checked regularly. Slide 11. Wind blows summer and winter in these parts. Wind moves antennas. It is important to check the direction of the antenna or the orientation if the orientation has been altered. If so, it needs to be corrected. Bob says, I'm not sure what the orientation of the antenna on my pickup is. I suspect that it is oriented to instruct me to give out a higher class of candy for trick-or-treat. Slide 12. Well, that is Bob's list of possible winterization projects. If you have thought of any others, please come now with your call sign.
Bravo 7, Hotel Tango Hotel.
Go ahead, Hotel Tango Hotel.
Ellen, thank you so much. This is very timely because I was just thinking it's time to winterize my station. What I need to do is I need to get up there and replace some of that paracord. Also, I need to check those connections between the coaxial and the antennas. One good suggestion might be is if you can get some what they call bulb grease or dielectric grease. That helps keep the oxygen from the metal parts, but still gives you a good connection, and you can use that to help protect your connections in that. Over.
Thank you for that comment. I think I remember something like that being used on battery terminals last time I was changing my battery. Any other comments?
KC7IHV.
Go ahead, IHV.
Regarding cars and batteries, these new, anything that's relatively new within the last few years. My wife's car used to sit a long time during the wintertime. She's a summertime driver. And the battery 3 weeks, if we didn't run the car every 2 to 3 weeks, her battery would be dead. And I found that with a number of my friends and relatives that 2 weeks is about as long as you want one of these newer cars to sit without starting it and getting it charged back up. Because as I was told by one mechanic, there was between 5 and 9 computers running 24/7 in most of the vehicles. KC7IHV, back to the training.
That's a lot of computers, and that's some very good comments. Thank you, Steve. Any other comments?
7HTH again.
Go ahead, HDH.
I just wanted to make a note to one other thing. I was talking about antennas. You mentioned wind, and those connections can come loose because of wind can set up harmonic vibrations on your antennas, and that can actually loosen connections over time. Over.
Very good point. We get enough wind here to play Beethoven's Fifth, I think. Any other comments? None heard. Well, this has been fun to bring Bob's sense of humor back into the net, and with this I will conclude tonight's training and turn it back over to KC7IHB. Thank you.